All right, welcome into the Slobberknocker Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Leak, here with Big Dog today, my father, as we had to witness the Dallas Cowboy debacle once again yesterday. Dallas loses the game, 32-48. It was never close. I don't even know why you're putting the helmet over there. It's so disgusting what we had to witness. Dallas was down 27-0 in the early second quarter. Dak Prescott, 2 interceptions, really could have been 2 pick sixes. One was a pick six. Dak's numbers finished.
Receiver should have fought for both of those balls. Let's go.
I'll give him the first one. The first one was interference.
You got to fight for the ball.
First one, no, it wasn't that.
I listened to a lot of breakdown.
First one was PI. One was PI. Second one was horrific interception by Dak. But again, we have a lot of uncertainty here. We can talk about the game. We can break down what happened. But the reality is, you could blame this on a number of different things. The defense was absolutely horrific. Dan Quinn, worst game plan, worst outing. I heard a couple people say it was the worst defensive performance by a playoff team they've ever seen. And it might be. They give up 48
Worst
points.
Cowboys lost in playoff history, but worst defensive playoff loss by the Cowboys. Go ahead.
48 points they gave up. Dak,
like I said, he's not a head coach.
He threw 60 times.
Same thing with Atlanta.
Dan Quinn?
Yeah, same thing with Atlanta in the Super Bowl.
Well, I don't think anyone's going to hire him after that.
Same thing. Yeah, they are.
You think somebody's going to hire him
after
that?
He already interviewed for the Seahawks. I think he's already done
I think anyone who watched yesterday's game would just not want to hire him.
No, they're going to think he wasn't concentrating on it. Let's go.
All right, offense was just as bad. Ceedee Lamb was acting like a baby the entire first half. Looked like he didn't even want to be on the field. I don't know what was going on with him. Dak, you could see Dak on the sideline in the first drive as Green Bay went right down the field and scored. You could see Dak with those big eyes on the sideline, just, tunnel vision, as they call it.
Michael Irving said that that's not the way you act, even though he's always tentative to talk bad. Richard Sherman said he acts the same as he always does. He doesn't engage with the quarterback, la, la, la.
Who? CD?
Richard Sherman said it, meaning he acts the same as he always does. He's just consistent. He never really talks to the quarterback. He walks out when you're talking to him anyway. Richard Sherman says bullshit. Like Michael said, it doesn't matter. In those type of situations, he's acting like a baby, and they ought to consider that and thinking, and they can't do anything about it, but they gotta take that in consideration.
What, the fact
he was pissed off at Dak's throwing the ball. That's what it was. Dak's throwing the ball.
But that's the thing is, it wasn't that. It wasn't just that. There was something else because the beginning. Yeah,
there was.
Beginning of the game, they had Mike McCarthy went over to him after the first drive.
Yep.
I mean, it had nothing to do with that. Ceedee dropped the ball on the first drive.
That's probably what it was.
So, but no, it just didn't make any sense the way he was.
Well,
acting.
he had one catch. He had 0 catches or 1 catch before halftime. They said.
Yeah, and he finished, and this is the problem. He finished with 9 catches for 110 yards. Dak finished throwing for 400.
Dak knows those are empty yards.
Yeah, Dak knows it, but does Jerry know when he looks at it?
Yes, Jerry knows that.
Because
Jerry's not stupid like that.
Jerry's pretty stupid.
No, he knows not. He knows that.
Look, all I'll say is this, and we can get into whatever you want to talk about in the game, but I want to say, to me, and I said this yesterday, I think we need to blow the whole thing up. I'm tired of this.
They're not blowing the whole thing up.
I said this before the game to you. There was 0 chance of us winning a Super Bowl with this team anyway.
Absolutely
They were
not,
flawed. Yeah. This was a flawed team. I said I would love us to get to an NFC title. We have no chance to beat San Francisco.
We don't have defensive backs.
We have no chance to get to the Super Bowl. So to me, I didn't care as much that we lost, but losing like this should just prove the point that, okay, we need to change the culture here, which means Jerry needs to give up control. Jerry has to give up control. If we don't, we'll never win.
Moot point.
And we need to get rid of McCarthy. We need to dump Dak. We need to completely rehaul, blow it up, blow it all up. That's what we have to do. That's the only shot you ever have. Otherwise, this is never working. Dak is 2-5 in the playoffs. Okay, it's not changing. He's beaten Tampa Bay, who had a losing record last year, in Seattle. That's the only 2 wins he's ever had in the playoffs.
Doesn't matter. He played his worst game ever, and I know why he played the worst game. You can see in his eye movement. He was nervous from the get-go. He admitted it. He had a little clip on post-game that admitted it, like he was throwing the ball, jacked up for the play, moved too fast, feet moving fast. He admitted some of this in a quick blurb on the radio interview, if you ever caught it. He kind of admitted that he messed up, and he was nervous, and he was taken aback, and he was. That first drive put them in the whole thing in the mental perspective. They thought, okay, this team is a lot better than we thought. Then when they couldn't answer, it got worse, and Dak got worse. But anyway, let's get back to the thing. Jerry's not leaving. I'm not delegating anything to anybody. Number one, anybody knows that. That's a topic that's not going to go on long. Number two, Why fire McCarthy? You have 1 year left on his contract. You have 1 year left on Dak's. Dak likes McCarthy. Best year he's had. You don't fire him. You might bring in an OC to work with him, but you don't fire him. Dan Quinn, you fire. You get rid of him. You let him go. Let him get a coaching job, and if he doesn't get a coaching job, let him go anyway. You can't have that kind of defense. Number one, they lack a defensive back. Although Bland played really well, it isn't the Frisco kind of secondary. And all in all, the Green Bay Packers secondary outplayed Dallas times 10. They said this morning, breaking it down, they knew like I said again, Big Dog said it, they knew every slant play that was coming. They predicted. That's why they were in the same locations. They even broke it down. Dan Orlowski, who is actually good at breaking.
Inaccurate.
But I'm saying, watch. Dan Orlowski broke down. They were breaking it down numbers-wise. Like right here, he's got the 3 slant. He knows to throw here. He knows, and that every corner knew. Like, okay, he's not going to Brandon Cook because now he is going to Brandon Cook. They could look at Dak and see what was going on, and that was very good coaching. So they had coached them like, we take Ceedee out of the first half, they're screwed. They knew it. They go to Brandon. They read what Brandon was going to do. So this is a matter of coaching and then the players buying into it. So my point is, that's what you got. I have a lot more to say about it. Anyway, keep going.
Packers secondary was bottom 10 in the league.
Yeah, I know, and they sucked.
No, they're not good.
And Jordan Love sucked for the first half of the season.
It doesn't matter. The secondary hasn't been good at all this season for Green Bay. The only thing that they did well this year defensively was get pressure on the quarterback. That's it. They didn't really pressure Dak all that much last night.
Oh, my God. Did you see the pocket collapse? He had happy feet the entire time, and he admitted it.
That has nothing to do with actual pressure. I'm talking about pressure rate. I'm talking
Dak,
about getting to the quarterback.
To Dak.
No, it's not.
The good year he had, the best offensive line, 13-3, and he had Zeke Elliott. So the best year he had tons of time to throw the ball.
Of course,
with less talented receivers.
Anyone who has the best offensive line is going to be a good quarterback. Look at Jalen Hurts last year. Had the best offensive line in the league. They regressed this year on the offensive line. He has a bad year. Same thing. Dak had plenty of time. You can't put this in. Nowhere in the world could you put this on the offensive line.
Problems are endless.
No, it's not. It's not endless. It's simple. It's very simple.
Because you can't refatten the offensive line with older guys. The new guys are no good. You can't go get good corners because you're going to pay Dak $61 million. You got to pay Ceedee Lamb as well.
Yeah.
No, you got to
pay Dak $60 million. So if you don't pay Dak, you can actually have you could go the way quarterbacks
it's not happening.
Yes, you can go find quarterbacks nowadays.
You can. No, I agree with that.
For cheap. And you'll be able to do, maybe you won't be quite as explosive offensively, but you'll have a better defense. You'll have a better O-line. You'll have better receivers.
Not doing it.
How many teams do you see nowadays paying quarterbacks that kind of money that have success? Look at the Chiefs. Look what they did with Patrick Mahomes. They gave him the big deal. The whole rest of the team has suffered. The receiving core is decimated. They have no one to throw to. Let me finish. The problem is not just the contract.
45-minute show on
not
this.
just the contract. Not just the contract. The problem is Mike McCarthy, and it's not just Mike.
It's Mike, but he's not the big problem.
Jerry combined with Mike. So we have an incompetent head coach who's a good play caller. He's a good offensive coordinator, but he's an incompetent head coach with a owner who runs a horrific organization with a lack of culture. I'll finish with this point. Look at a play yesterday with Sam Williams. Sam Williams is number 54 on Dallas. He's on the special teams. He's committed 4 personal fouls this season, and yet he continues to be played not only in special teams. Dan Quinn has had him out there defensively a couple snaps the last few games.
I agree.
He runs into the guy with kick-catch interference because there is no accountability. There is no.
I agree with that.
It's just a terrible shit culture, and it's going to continue until Jerry Jones gives it up. If he doesn't, it doesn't matter who the coach is. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Doesn't matter what the cap is. They will lose.
It's not giving it up. It's simple. You're thinking way too in terms of details, but yet details are what matter in this situation. Number one, it's not a great coach. It's a great accountability coach. But this is the problem with those. Bill Belichick would be a nightmare. He would come in. He can't pick talent. He's horrendous at picking talent. He'd be good for the defense, and there'd be accountability. That's it. So what you do need, I agree, it's not coming from Jerry. Jason Garrett, Dave Campo. You can keep that. Wade Phillips. They don't want accountable Jimmy Johnson-style coaches because they think that players like Ceedee Lamb and Jerry gets all his feeds from all his friends. They don't respond. Dallas Cowboys don't respond to the thing that got him 3 Super Bowls. They don't respond to that, the players of today. So if they were smart, they'd go bring it. Harbaugh's not coming to the Cowboys.
That's who they should get.
He's not coming to the
Would you agree that if we got Harbaugh, that we would have success? We'd probably have a shot to win a Super Bowl.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Accountability. I don't know that he would turn Dak's nervousness in all 3 playoff games. He wet the bed, shit his pants.
Yeah, but
I don't think he'd know. I don't think you'd turn that around.
He wouldn't stick with them then.
Do you know there's
He'd go get somebody else?
Do you know there's a psychologist that Big Dog said that 2 years ago watching Dak and then last year said,
oh, here we go.
I know. Mental seizures on the sideline. He's having mental seizures. He literally gets nervous and has reactions. And the guy's like, this is how your eyes look when you're not looking at the tablet, but you're not looking at the tablet. Mental seizures. So the bottom line is the guy freaks out on the first half of all games, can come back in the second half because there's no pressure. We've all heard all this on talk. I'm not saying anything anybody hasn't already talked about. Everyone knows that. But the bottom line is this. Rex Ryan said it best. Dan Quinn, on 53 plays, had 6 DBs on 48 of them in the same position. And he said, now, Green Bay knows that Dan likes to just continually do the same thing. He doesn't like to change it. Just like Bill, we're doing the same thing. We're going to line up and go, like old coach theories. But Rex said that is atrocious. So the bottom line is you can blame. There's a ton of blame to go around. Mike McCarthy necessarily wasn't the problem. You could tell in Dak's first 4 throws, he was in trouble. Mike McCarthy could tell. You could see it on Mike's face. He could tell, Dak scared, nervous, twitching, happy feet, wobbly arm, and Dak admitted it. He admitted in the radio postgame that he was, it was maybe his throws were a little short because he was kind of hypervigilant. And when they scored, it does make you think. And we thought they were a little better than we thought they were. They were a good team.
Not good. They played good. They're not good.
Well, anyway, bottom line is that's that. Like I said, tall, calm, dumb, as Jordan Love is dumb as a box of fucking rocks. Dumb, tall quarterbacks, except for Tom Brady, are simple-minded, win Super Bowls.
Oh, you think Jordan Love's a Super Bowl quarterback? You're
Drew Brees is Drew Brees.
You're so delusional.
No, Drew Brees. No, I'm not saying Super Bowl quarterback. I'm saying that's the kind of thing you want. A guy that's mobile, thin, in shape, that can go out of the pocket. No, Brady can't do that, so they're not going to do that. But the bottom line is a Jordan Love type can move a little bit. They pull him out of the pocket. Now he can until he gets hit a little bit. So Dallas didn't blitz, and when they did, it was covered. And the other thing is this, Micah Parsons, give me a break. Give me a fucking break. I'm almost done. Micah Parsons, you can double him, and he's weak. He gets injured all the time. If you're paying anybody, it goes, you have to pay Dak, you're screwed, but I wouldn't pay him this year. You pay Ceedee Lamb, you figure out the Dak situation. I dump Dak after this year, I would dump him. And then I would just go for a second or third round pick in the draft, get a quarterback, try to develop, try to do something right now. And then you pay Ceedee Lamb. Micah Parsons, you pay last. He can be doubled and taken out of a game. He had nothing to do with yesterday. Start Lawrence Taylor. You come up and you make 2 or 3 tackles into sentence. But then you look at the other side. He was doubled and tripled, and the other side did nothing. This was a team of get the ball out quick, and they already know it. They said, they're going to take our number 11 out of the game. We're going to pass to everybody else. He had 1 pass catch. Coaching. You can't look at Mike McCarthy. You can't look at Mike McCarthy on that. That's Dan Quinn.
Yeah, the defense obviously is Dan Quinn. The problem is you have Mike McCarthy, whose offense scored 0 points in the first half.
Dak.
You can't blame it all on the quarterback.
Dak. Those passes were Dak.
When the coach is the OC, you can't blame it. And actually, as much as I hate Greg Olsen, he's horrific. He's the worst.
The worst ever.
The crew last night is pathetic.
He's horrible.
That was terrible.
He's the worst.
But he did make a good point, and this is true. The entirety of the year, and you agreed with this yesterday when we were watching it, the entirety of the year, the difference in Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy was actually, surprisingly, Mike McCarthy had a lot of early down throws. And in the game yesterday, what he did is he did a lot of early down runs so that it got to very predictable situations early. So, like, when things were snowballing early, we just kept getting in these third downs. Every single series was a third down. Literally, how many third down opportunities did we have? Because every single drive, it was an early down run, and then we'd have a 3rd and 7 or a
so
third
what?
and 3.
So would they.
So my point is, no, it wasn't. They didn't get in a lot of
No,
third
I'm
downs.
just saying they can make a first down, 3rd and 7. They could do that. So the bottom line comes down to your quarterback. Dak threw the ball in the first couple of attempts horribly. Everyone knew that he was off. They all knew it. It's just so, who didn't know it? You saw the second pass or third pass. Say, okay, yeah, he's a little in trouble.
He's horrible. He was horrible. That's not what
How
I'm saying.
can you not calm down your nerves? Take a fucking Xanax.
What?
Take a Xanax or something. Seriously, before you get a game.
Shut the
if
fuck
you
up.
can't get out there and perform under any kind of playoff pressure, get a do something. That's Dak. Mike McCarthy.
He's never looked like that. In
I understand what you're saying. Mike didn't normally run the ball against his game plan.
No,
you don't
hold
know.
on.
You don't know if he did that because of Dak.
The thing about it is, if you're Mike McCarthy, that's your job. If your quarterback's playing poorly,
I agree.
Design some easy throws. Get him in a rhythm. Go talk to him, for God's sake. He stands on the sideline there, like, after the first touchdown, he's standing there going like, oh, son of a bitch. That's what he said. You could see him mouth, son of a bitch. Because he knew right there. He panicked. And when your coach panics, your team panics. That's the problem. He looked like he was coaching for his job yesterday.
He's not.
And that's how they played.
No.
They played not to lose the game.
No,
and they got beat by a team who no one would ever argue is better than the Cowboys. There's a reason Dallas was a 7-point favorite.
I disagree.
Oh, you think Green Bay's a better football team? You're delusional.
I think they're a
This is the same team who lost to the Giants and Tommy DeVito a couple weeks ago. Lost at home to Baker Mayfield. They barely beat the fucking Carolina Panthers. I mean, you look at their scores. It's not even close to remotely good. Lost at the Giants. Lost to the Buccaneers. Beat the Panthers by 3 on a walk-off field goal. Beat Nick Mullins and
You're
then beat Justin Fields.
You're,
beat nobody. They're not good.
You can say the same thing about Dallas, who beat nobody good. The stats all came out this morning. How many non-winning teams they've beaten, how many teams they've lost to. It's like 4-8. They can't win anybody that has a winning record. They can keep going all that. This is your quarterback getting in the first down, watching them march down the field, thinking his defense would show up. So first, if you look at I'll make it quick. You break down the first series. That's on the defense. Then the penalty. That's a bad penalty call. You shouldn't call in the first series. However, penalty, break down the defense. Now Dak shits the bed. Always does on his first couple of when he's behind like that. We're normally used to taking control on the first quarter and going down and scoring. It gets in his head. All those first passes are horrible. Now you combine it with what did they do? Come right down the field again. And those are coaching. There's where the coaching came in. The second drive is where coaching really came in. Anyway, they were prepared. They knew every play Dallas was going to do. And you're ignoring one thing. You're ignoring I don't know what you're watching. I watched it again last night. The DBs were all over our receivers on small slant routes. So Dak wasn't seeing anything. That also makes you nervous. You're like, I got to
again, then it's a scheme. If you're getting press coverage, then you change what you're doing offensively. You can't continue to run the same shit. If they're up pressing, they had no corners that could cover our receivers. That's ridiculous. There is not a single corner out there who could cover any of our receivers.
They knew if they took Ceedee Lamb out, it was a game.
They couldn't take Ceedee Lamb out. Ceedee took himself out. No, that's not true. They could not take. The problem was, like I said, early down runs put us in predictable situations.
I don't agree with that.
Then they could stop us. Yes.
No.
And I want to say one last point about the defense. Here's the last thing, and I can't stand how Dan Quinn operates. I do agree with the fact that he doesn't adjust to anything. And here's the last thing I'll say. They literally, against Buffalo, we watched the same exact thing. This is not something that's surprising. Buffalo, when they ran the ball down our throat a couple weeks ago.
A winning team that kicked our ass. Keep going.
And we sat there, and Dan Quinn sat there with 4 or 5 guys in the box, 6 guys in the box the entire game.
So what he did this time?
Quarter, I know it is. Even in this game, when it was 48-16, he was sitting there with 4 or 5, 6 guys in the box every single time, and Aaron Jones continued to run it down our throat. So why anybody would want that guy as a head coach is beyond me. He does a great job of changing the culture.
No, he's not a head coach. I said that before.
He does a great job of changing the culture, and he improved our defense a lot, but he's hit his ceiling. And he plays terrible players. He had Jalen Kearse in there the entire year, worst player Cowboys have ever had. Worst
decision he ever made, just keeping Kearse in there the entire year. So the bottom line is, it does go down to that. It does go down to Mike McCarthy. I'll give you this one thing. Mike McCarthy not telling him to make substitutions on the actual personnel, I totally agree. Javon Kearse, get him out of there. Figure it out. Bring in a rookie.
Get him out.
Get him out. I agree with that. Special teams, bringing it out. Think about the
Ceedee Lamb out. Get Ceedee Lamb out in the first half when he's bitching and whining. Don't leave him in the game and let him just sit there and do nothing.
I agree. They should have involved.
Take him out for 2 series.
They should have involved. What's his name? 13. My boy used to be pretty good.
Gallup.
Gallup.
They did later in
but
the game.
I know. But what I'm saying is they should have sat Ceedee down for a second. They were both hyped up. I guess they were both hyped up. There's a lot of pressure on them all week. They're the best combo. They're the best combo. They can't take the pressure. Being a Cowboys pressure enough, Dak's not built for that. Comes from Mississippi State. Blow it off. Bottom line, not built for that. And then play at Alabama. The bottom line is you need the calmness of a Jalen Hurts, the stupidity of that person, literally, with a taller body frame to see the field, a little mobility. That's what you need to go get. They won't go get it. They won't do that. But I want to say one thing. Dan Quinn's, there's a chance he's not going anywhere. But I'm assuming he probably did interview for the Seahawks job, even if it was on the phone.
He did.
Oh, well, I didn't even know that. So probably in his head, in his mind, he sort of checked out. I don't think that's the problem of the team. But during the game, I don't know. That was a weird thing to not adjust. But then again, you just said he doesn't do it. But here's the thing. Where do you go from here? And this is what I'm going to say. You can't. That's the subject that you should be bringing up. Where do you go from here?
I already said that.
Well, you can't go to Belichick because he's not coming to work with Jerry. That ain't happening.
If Jerry decides,
he's horrible
if
right
Jerry
now.
decides, hey, I'm old, I'm going to die soon.
Stop.
Well, I didn't think it was ever going to happen. I agree until the way he looked yesterday. The way he looked yesterday, a lot of people are saying he might actually do it.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he might.
No, he's got 1 year left on Mike McCarthy's deal. He can just let that
Why
go.
wouldn't he go get Harbaugh then? Because Harbaugh doesn't really have to.
He'd have to be on a plane in Harbaugh's face at L.A. while he's meeting today. Jerry would have already had to flown up there and say, hey, right after your meeting, I want to meet with you. I want to hire you for the Cowboys. If that didn't happen, Jerry doesn't make those assertive moves. That's the Jerry of 91, this hyperactive, I'll spin anything kind of guy, period. It's not Jerry now. So the bottom line is he's not on the plane. He's not there. They're not letting Harbaugh out of the building. So if he goes to the Chargers, they're hiring him. That's the bottom line.
No,
Only if
they already interviewed him today or yesterday. He was slated to interview.
No, he's going today.
Oh, is it today?
Today.
Well,
so the bottom line is he's there. If Jerry was on the runway waiting, that's a different thing. That's the old Jerry. He'd have the Dallas Cowboys plane there, right there waiting for Harbaugh to walk on the plane and talk to him. But I don't think Harbaugh's that impressed with the Cowboys. I think he looks at the Cowboys and sees Dak for what he is. He's not a calm, cool, collected guy. Harbaugh doesn't look at Dak and say he's got 3 more years left. He might only have 2 more in Dallas. I'm going to go there. He's not going to go there. He's either go to a place he can draft or up. He's thinking right now, do I want to go with Herbert and in with him and see what I can do with him or go get my own quarterback? If it's get his own quarterback, he's going to Washington. If it's I want to work with a quarterback that exists, he's going to the Chargers. He's not coming to Dallas, Texas.
I don't think he's going to Washington.
Yeah, okay, well that's fine because his parents are up there. And they're not. They're almost.
I understand that.
Done.
I get that. I don't think he's going to Washington.
But you're not
That's
getting
a bad
him.
organization.
You're not getting him. You're not getting Belichick. You don't want Belichick. He's a nightmare.
I would take Belichick or Harbaugh right now in a
He's
heartbeat.
not coming. Belichick's not coming to the Cowboys.
If Jerry was like, you can have control, he would.
This is Jerry right now thinking, well, I got 1 more year on Mike. He did a great year with Dak. I want to hear what he says about breaking down the film, what happened, and Jerry's going to want it in broad form. The details Jerry's not going to ask for. Broad form. He's not going to play-by-play like he used to break down and be in Jimmy's office. He's not doing that. Short of it is. Broad breakdown. I think he should say, we got Dak 1 more year anyway. He probably might renew him, but let's say he doesn't.
No, he won't.
Okay, let's say he doesn't. Then he's got them 2 on the last year, and he can search. The only move I will say, the only time he can go get Belichick is now. So he knows that Jerry doesn't pull those plugs anymore, those triggers rather. He doesn't do it. He's not going to go fire McCarthy, bring it. He's going to think, I need to get a defensive coordinator. I need to bring in an OC, maybe that guy from Detroit.
Why would you want to go get an OC?
I'm just saying, to work with McCarthy to get a firepower offense.
We already have the best offense.
He's the ultimate optimist. He doesn't think like,
Not after yesterday.
Yeah,
he looked devastated.
Yeah. It's the worst playoff loss in history. It doesn't matter with Jerry. He's looking at his mortality. He's not going to get
He's looking at his mortality, then he would go get him.
Harbaugh's not coming to work. Although one of them was on the competition committee. Vrabel's on the competition committee.
I would love Vrabel, too. I would love to get Vrabel.
Vrabel's kind of like a Belichick, mini Belichick.
I would take any of those
the
three
Titans
in a
offense
heartbeat.
is so credible. The Titans offense is amazing.
Nothing to do with the offense. They had Ryan Tannehill behind center. No,
okay.
Look at their
they've
defense.
never been anywhere.
People love playing for him. You're never going to – I'll tell you what, and they said this yesterday. You take any three of those head coaches, Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick, Jim Harbaugh, not a single one of those guys,
Vrabel will go to Washington.
if they coached a game yesterday, would have lost the game like that. None of them. The only guy who could lose a game that embarrassingly is Mike McCarthy.
This is the thing. Vrabel should go. He should go to Washington. That's where I think he'll end up. If Jim doesn't even consider Washington, but they're not. He's sneaky though. Jim might be thinking that the whole time.
Jim's not going to Washington. If he was going to somewhere, if he was going to go somewhere like in that, he would go to Chicago. What? Because he played.
No,
in Chicago.
I agree. You're right. What did I say? Yeah, last show I said either Chicago or Washington. Those two.
No,
they're
not
East Coast.
Chicago or L.A. or now or Dallas.
Chicago though,
not going to Washington.
Chicago. Yeah, Chicago would be a good move. Like I said, that's where I thought he would go. That's where he played. That's where I thought he'd go.
I'd go to Dallas or LA. No, I'm going to the Chargers. No pressure. Got the better quarterback. Got plenty of talent. Got good receivers.
I would too. I'd go to the Chargers, but
no pressure to win there.
I'd go to the Chargers.
He has 7 years.
Back to what we're talking about. Dallas Cowboys will not win a Super Bowl ever with Jerry Jones ever again, nor with Stephen Jones. The team will only win a Super Bowl when the team is sold eventually in 30 or 40 years, 20 or 30 years after Stephen, or some big organization will come in and offer them a ton of money. The bottom line is they've never been good at drafting quarterbacks. And if you look at the Dallas history, we've always had clutch quarterbacks. Craig Morton, Staubach. Post games when he showed up. Aikman, post games when he showed up. And then we have a series of – and Romo, a bum when it comes to showing up on a post game. I mean, postseason. Dak, bum. Although I will give Dak credit. On the Green Bay loss had nothing to do with him. Green Bay, they should have won that.
He threw 3 picks in that game.
Yeah, but he came back from 38 – points or 20.
Romo is the one who played well in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Romo played well. Romo went into Green Bay and beat them, and they ruled that.
They like humble guys. They don't like cocky, good Roger Staubach kind of people. Jimmy's not like that. We're done. We're done. You will not see a championship. You won't see a championship with him.
That's good. I'm not a Cowboys fan anymore.
No, doesn't matter. So my thing is, and eventually, it will matter to people. It's starting to matter. Today, they're going to get brutalized for this loss. And Jerry's not looking at the team. If I get rid of McCarthy, I look better. He doesn't care about that. That was maybe 4 years ago. He would have got rid of Mike McCarthy today. He's not going to do that. He's thinking in terms right now of Dak had his best year under Mike. And what did Dak go to the podium and say? If you should consider Mike, you should consider me. So Jerry's thinking of that. That probably went in Jerry's head. Well, they both can stay one more year, and then maybe I will get rid of them both. He's going one more year with both of them. I'm done.
All right.
Why get rid of them? Why? What are you going to get?
You save a year of time.
Yeah, and you get who?
Doesn't matter.
Who?
Doesn't matter.
Vrabel, you're locked in for a 5-year deal. Jerry's not going to just meet with Vrabel and say, oh, yeah, he's our coach for 5 years. No way. Now, Bill.
He just did it with Mike.
Bill, he might. No, I'm saying he's not going to meet with Vrabel. Like he doesn't know him well. Now, his son knows Vrabel very well. They're on the competition committee together. But they like each other. But I don't think he's going to bring in Vrabel. Think, oh my God, Vrabel's the answer.
Now, I could see if Vrabel.
Vrabel's not going to help Dak.
If Vrabel
had Ryan Tannehill and stuck with him. Ryan Tannehill's a bum. No, Vrabel's out of the question.
Vrabel didn't make that decision.
Doesn't matter. Vrabel's
second
out.
Of all,
yeah, he could have benched him. He could have benched him.
Second of all, I think they legit. Well, they went to the AFC title game.
Well, I don't care. I don't care. You had Ryan Tannehill and you kept him and you started him and you didn't go any good.
The coach.
You didn't tell the GM to go.
Coach.
Bottom line, they're not getting. They're not interviewing. They're not going to interview.
What I would do what I think Vrabel might do is he might if he thinks, okay, I don't like any of the jobs out there because Harbaugh takes LA and somebody else, they keep Eberflus. Well, here's what he could do. He could become the coordinator, the defensive coordinator in Dallas, thinking, okay, I'm friends with Steven, and if Mike doesn't do well next year, I'm going to get the job.
That's true.
That's what I could see happening,
that's what
too.
I said.
If he kept Mike, if he somehow, which I don't think he's going to do, I think he's going to fire him today or tomorrow.
No, he's not.
I could definitely see Vrabel becoming the DC for a year and then taking over next year. That's what I could see happening.
Hey, put it this way. I'll pull my pants down and run around the front yard if he fires Mike today or tomorrow morning.
Okay, wait. No, today or tomorrow.
Tomorrow. No, morning, because they fire him in the morning. They're going to fire him at 5 o'clock. They fire before the press.
What is the time limit for morning?
Well, but the 3 breaking shows will be first take by 9. They'll break it at 9 to 11 or Colin 11 to 12. So it's between 9 and 12. They'd have to fire him tomorrow.
Okay, so you have till noon tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you got to take off. You got to take off your boxers too and run around.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. So this is the bottom line. And the last thing is this. He's not going to go to anybody like that because it doesn't better Dak for next year. He doesn't look at Vrabel or Bill Belichick and say, oh, my God, they're going to bring an amazing thing to Dak. He's looking at mathematically Dak had his best year with Mike. He loves Mike. I've got Dak this year. I got Mike. End of sentence. Defensive coordinator position, possibly. Hey, Dan, it's time for you to go get a head coaching job. Adios. But then this is the thing. The guys love Dan Quinn. The defense loves him. It may be he leaves everything intact because Dan doesn't get an offer. But Jerry's not making any of those.
He has 4 interviews today.
Why would
Dan Quinn's getting interviewed today by by the Panthers, Chargers, Commanders, and Titans. All 4 interviewing him.
Here's the thing, really quick.
Apparently, the Seahawks. I was wrong. The Seahawks are not interviewing him.
Why would Jerry, unless it's Bill Belichick? Why would Jerry know that I might die in the next 2 or 3 years? Whoever I hire this year, I live with till I die. It isn't going to be Vrabel, or it isn't going to. It might be Jim Harbaugh. I don't think so. I think it's only Belichick, which I don't think he'll ever do. He has to be the center of attention. So it's. I know I'm here next year. I know I'm alive next year.
He's not the center of attention with Mike. All everybody talks about is Mike. Jerry's not the center of attention with McCarthy. All everyone ever talks about is Mike McCarthy.
Jerry's on the morning show threatening Mike's job every other week. What are you talking about? You can't do that. Get real. You don't know Jerry Jones. You can't go on Dallas 105.3. And talk about like you can't Belichick. If he went on the air and talks about his coach to Belichick would march in that office and tell him, hey, man, I don't want to hear that anymore. There's no way he could get along with that because Jerry wants to say whatever he wants to the media about his coach, as he did before this playoff game, which everyone's criticizing. It had nothing to do with Mike's loss. This was on Dak wetting the bed the first and second series. The defense, too, understandably. However, the first series, and if you think about it, it's always a game of momentum. If they stop Jordan Love in the first series or second series, then you could have a different ball game. You don't run into the guy on the kick, and you do not run the ball out from the end zone. That is on Mike. That is on Mike for that special teams coordinator.
You can add them all up, and they all come down to one guy, Mike McCarthy.
They do, but Jerry's thinking to himself, I'm here next year. I'm alive next year. They can keep me on tubes. I'll be here next year watching from a hospital bed.
He's 81. He's not.
I'm just saying. So he's not going to say, the last coach I'm going to hire is Vrabel when I'm alive. Bullshit. Vrabel.
You have no idea what he's thinking right now.
Vrabel, defensive coordinator.
I'm not even saying Vrabel's like my third choice. I would rather have Harbaugh and Belichick.
While we're here and we end the show, which was way too long, but you can break it.
You're the one who went off.
You're right. I did. I agree with you.
90% of the time.
I wanted to get my points in real quick. Where is Vrabel going to go? Who could take him as a head coach?
I just told you. Well, I think the Panthers would take him. I think if Harbaugh didn't take the Chargers, I could see the Chargers taking him because they want somebody who's experienced. They don't want they just went the young route with Brandon Staley. I wouldn't be shocked if the Commanders interviewed him, but to me, I actually think Dan Quinn is going to think, you know what?
That's what I meant to say. My bad.
Do I really want to take the Panthers job or the Commanders? I don't think he's going to get the
real
Chargers.
Quick, all I'm going to say is this. I meant to say, where is Dan Quinn really going to end up as head coach? He's not going to get – Washington's not going after him.
Who's interviewing him?
I don't – that's a dumb idea. That's a dumb idea. So the bottom line, they have a defensive coordinator there, right? Ron Rivera.
I could actually now
where is he going?
I could see the Panthers hiring him. I could see that.
No way. That owner would fire him in 1 year. The only people that could hire him is Seattle. That's it. In a sense, that's it. Seattle's it.
Apparently, Seattle's not interviewing
what
him.
if we go after Pete Carroll next year?
I would rather jump off a cliff. I fucking hate Pete Carroll. He's
the
bum.
worst.
He's horrible.
Richard Sherman says he keeps every player accountable and thinks he's going to get you. You're working for your job in each game. Richard Sherman said that's how people don't know this, but that's how he coaches. Like, you're working for your job, Richard Sherman.
Well, that's sure not fucking worked out in the last 5 years, has it?
Well, Russell went to the Super Bowl, my boy.
Well, no, actually, hold on, whoa. Russell didn't do anything. Russell threw 4 interceptions in the NFC Championship game, and the defense, the Legion of Boom, won the Super Bowl for him. He did nothing. Russell, irrelevant to that, and since then, he's been a bum. And he lost the Super Bowl the year after on the interception.
And we'll end on this. And we'll end on this. You can't go search for quarterbacks. Look at Tennessee. They bring in, what's his name? The guy that's tall.
Will Levis.
Will Levis, head case, guys all over the place. Not bad.
We don't know what he is yet.
Well, yeah, I agree. He's got the build, got the legs, got the arms. The strongest looking quarterback I've ever seen in my life.
He's got the physical tools.
He does.
No offensive line.
He reminds me of Carson Wentz, though.
He definitely flashed a couple times.
He's a Carson Wentz, but a better version. Not as good as Carson.
Wentz turned off.
Well, look how good he did his first couple of years. Bottom line is this. If you think about it, go think about how hard it is to get a quarterback, and Jerry knows that. So the bottom line is, you say it's easy to get. Really? Look at the Titans.
Yeah, but no, here's my point.
They need a draft this year.
No, my point is this. Look at San Francisco. They went through fucking 5 quarterbacks in 3 years, and they're going to the NFC Championship game. My point is,
that's called a mover.
Mike
Lynch, mover. He's a mover. Let's get rid of him right now.
That's what Shanahan does.
I know. What I'm saying is they crap out who they don't like immediately, and that's how you hate Colin Hurd. That's what he says. Get rid of it if it doesn't work right away.
Yeah, they do that, but they also do this. They don't go invest a bunch of money in a quarterback unless
on the picks they did for Trey Lance.
What?
They did for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah,
they did for Trey Lance.
Whoa. First of all, they did not for Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance, they did.
Paid him a ton.
Trey Lance, they did, but Shanahan was on record opposed to that deal. Did not want to do it.
It doesn't matter.
He hated Trey Lance. My point is, Shanahan doesn't need a quarterback. Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. Before that, it was, he had Nick Mullins for a year. No, my point is, you can go find if you have good enough. If you have good enough weapons, if you have a good enough supporting cast, if you have a decent enough offensive line, and you have a great offensive coordinator, hold on, you can get to an NFC Championship game and maybe even a Super Bowl with a quarterback. Look at the Rams with McVay. They got to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. He's a bum. I mean, it's the same exact thing. If you have a good supporting cast, you can get there with a guy who's not that great. As long as you're not asking him to do too much. We asked Dak to do too much because he's not that guy.
First off, if Jerry had any intention of going younger, he would have gone for some great OCs when he interviewed Mike McCarthy. The reason he doesn't think like that, young, hip guys like Mike Shanahan, he doesn't think like that. He's the GM. Look at Lynch.
He wasn't some young hip guy. He had plenty of success.
Lynch makes moves quickly. They bring in people. Let's think about it. Everyone said they should have brought in a stern running back. What do you think Green Bay thought today? We can take Pollard out of this game. We're not afraid of Tony Pollard running us as bad as he's been running. So the bottom line is, what did Jerry do? What did they do? Christian McCaffrey. What did Jerry do? I'm not bringing in Derrick Henry. I'm not bringing in anybody. So Tony Pollard we're going with. That's Jerry now. The most in the glue Roach Motel check-in feed and glue person in the NFL. You've got an old school guy that's stubborn-headed and optimistic in an organization whereby Lynch, his opposing team, San Francisco, is supposed to be as good as, makes moves quickly. Trey Lance doesn't work. Bam. Garoppolo off to the Raiders. What does Jerry do? He doesn't make moves like that. He used to when he was lucid and there in the 90s and even in the 2000s. He doesn't do that anymore. He kept Quincy Carter. So my point is, no, forget, because he drafted because it was from his school or it was on his birthday. This is how the guy thinks. It's old school. It's like superstitious. My OL's named Quincy. Whatever. The bottom line, he's not doing it. We don't have an innovative GM. End of sentence. Done.
I think if they go get Jim Harbaugh, that's their only.
They're not getting Harbaugh. He's not going to work with Jerry Jones.
If he would do that, that would save the franchise.
He should give the franchise to Jim Harbaugh and walk away and let it go, because then it'd be in good hands for the next 4 or 5 years. He will not do that. And I don't think Jim Harbaugh, looking at Chargers, Washington near his house, Chicago where he played. Are you kidding me? He's going to go the Dallas job? That's the most pressurous job Harbaugh is going to take. It'd be the Dallas job.
I'd like to go on record and say I've been a Justin Herbert fan because I always liked the Oregon Ducks. I've loved Justin Herbert since he was in college. If Jim Harbaugh takes the Chargers, I'm switching allegiances. I will no longer be a Cowboys fan. I will be a Chargers fan. And I will 100% support the Chargers until Jerry Jones dies. That's a guarantee. I will not root for the Cowboys again.
I'm back on Cowboys.
You're always on the Cowboys.
No, I'm back.
Because you're like an addict. You just keep going back.
Big Dog's back on the Cowboys.
Just keep going back.
Next year's our year.
I'll stick with my horns, but I'm not going to the Cowboys.
We're done.